There are so many incredible individuals all around our country who are trying to make a difference. They're impacting their communities through their work, talents, and servant hearts. In this series, you'll get a chance to meet them. Welcome to 50 States, 50 Stories. Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of 50 States, 50 Stories. Glad to have you back. We've got a great one here tonight, and I've got a legend here with us, and I'm so excited. Representing the state of Texas, we've got the Hall of Fame coach, Coach Don English. Coach, it's great to see you.
Matthew, it's always a pleasure to see you, buddy. Anytime I can visit with you in person, on the phone, Zoom, whatever, it makes my day. So happy to be with you tonight.
Well, thanks for joining, Coach. And I tell you, from someone personal experience getting to work with you, you've had just a big impact on my life back in high school and even still today. And so it really is an honor, and I'm so excited to help share your story today and talk about just your amazing coaching career and what you're doing now. And I'd love to start with talking about what you're doing now. When you retired from the coaching side in 2019, you are now the boys athletic director at Trinity Christian Academy-Addison. Love to hear about that role and kind of what your day-to-day looks like in that position.
Well, first of all, it's been an incredible journey, and now my 42nd year in education, and then to be a full-time boys athletic director this last 3 years. Matthew, it's kind of a dream come true. It was kind of my ultimate goal after I finished coaching was to be able to serve and as an athletic director and really resource coaches, kind of work behind the scenes, try to set them up for success, because ultimately those men and women are pouring into our kids' lives. We've got probably 70% of our coaches are part-time, and quite honestly, their stipend maybe pays for gas and tolls, and so they're in it for the right reasons. They love kids, they love their sport, they want to help make champions, build champions on and off the field and off the court. And it's just a pleasure to be able to serve behind the scenes and try to help our coaches be their very best.
Well, that's great. And I'll tell you, you've been doing an amazing job. And again, the time that I got to spend working with you, I saw the impact you made on the fellow coaches and players. And so I think it's an incredible role. And I saw an article that was from last year, but talked about how unique of a situation, especially at TCA, that there are two athletic directors, one for the boys and one for the girls. Can you kind of talk a little bit about that process and what that's like of that scenario of having two athletic directors for a program?
Well, first of all, it's incredible working with Jeff Smith, who's I call a Hall of Fame athletic director, because I think he's in his 21st or 22nd year as an athletic director. He's still able to coach as well. And so, I learn from Jeff every day, and it is a unique framework, Matthew, in that we do have a boys and a girls athletic director. But what's great is that I think the school really felt like years ago when they hired Jeff that they really needed a champion for the women. And Jeff is the ultimate champion for female sports. And, he works extremely hard to make sure the girls get their due share, and we take care of the girls. And so, working with him every day, we work very well together. I would say we have a little different styles, but I think that's good. I think we bounce ideas and things off each other, because ultimately we meet with our head of school, Dave Delph, who's outstanding, and we share with him in our biweeklies every other week, kind of some things that we're seeing that we're trying to handle and gain some wisdom in that process. And it's been a great situation. And of course, the two ladies helping us, Paula Hardick and Kathy Denny, who Kathy.
Oh yeah,
will be her 30th year at TCA.
Wow.
Incredible. And so they do so many things behind the scenes, Matthew, that help set us up for success, because quite frankly, I love meeting with coaches. I love watching practices and obviously adminning games and doing those kinds of things. And at times making some difficult decisions, whereas Kathy and Paula help Jeff and me so well, doing a lot of paperwork and school dude events, and, handling the trip schedules and all that kind of protocols and procedures. And it's really nice to be able to really work with coaches on a daily basis.
From your perspective as an athletic director, and we see a lot of changes at the collegiate level. I mean, pro sports. Has it kind of trickled down? How's the landscape changed for high school athletics in even the last 5 years?
Well, we know, of course, the latest thing that last year with the whole NIL, name, image, likeness, at the college level, which I'm not a fan of, but I do think the kids needed some type of supplement so they could go see a movie or do some things, have a date, instead of having to be stuck in a dorm room, for example. But the NIL has really changed some things, and it has trickled down a little bit to the high school level. Believe it or not, I talked to another baseball coach from another school the other day, and he was talking about he's had 2 agents call him from players on his team, and it's hard to believe that now even high school kids are talking about the name, image, likeness. I mean, we all know about the Quentin Ewers last year leaving South Lake, not completing his senior year to go to Ohio State, and man, I hate to see that. I hope he doesn't have any regrets, because high school really has become kind of the last bastion of true amateurism. And that's what I love about high school athletics, is that it's still a game. It's still a lot of fun. And we talk to our coaches and kids all the time about, man, if it's not fun, then find something that is. And I remember talking to my older brother, Doug, who played with the Detroit Lions for 10 years. And I asked him one time, I said, how long are you going to play? And he said, as long as I'm still having fun. I thought, well, here's a guy making, big money professionally, but it still has to be fun for him. Bottom line is, sports got to be fun. And we all know winning is much more fun than losing. But the things that only athletics can teach a young man or young woman is amazing.
Yeah, and I think it goes to that, just the power of sports. There's so many life lessons in it, and it's powerful, and it has changed a lot, like you said, and even in the last year. That mentality shifting a little bit? Like, is it losing? It's a game. That's what it is. It's all a game, right. And it's becoming very much of a business. I mean, that's how professional sports obviously work at. There's the business side, but is it too much of a business side now?
It looks like it's heading that way, Matthew. And, and I think with that, I think sometimes parent expectations, I haven't really seen it at TCA, but I know some of my public school friends that coach at a very high level have seen have had some very difficult conversation with some parents about their child's abilities and being realistic about those abilities. And I would say that, the Cy Young Award winners that I was able to coach, and the wonderful major league players that I was able to coach, yeah, I think all those guys would tell you that wasn't something that they ever thought they would do. I mean, I think for any young boy, it's a dream to play in the big leagues or play in the NFL or the NBA. But honestly, I think they all felt so blessed to just ultimately make it to the show, they call it. But I think they were realistic all the way. And then when they're there, you never know, maybe your last game, maybe your last year. You may be traded tomorrow. And I do think that I love high school athletics because, man, we can just really pour into young people and really try to build them up so they can be a champion for God and others when they leave, and really, like we've talked about, use sports and not allow sports to use them, because we've all learned that sports can really be a really bad Lord, but placed in God's hands, it can be a tremendous instrument for good. And that's what I love about high school sports.
Exactly. Well, thanks for sharing that, Coach. And I want to dive into your coaching career. And in 2019, when you retired, you ended up with 663 coaching victories. So, Coach, I got to first ask you, in all of those wins and all of those games, what are some of your favorite or memorable moments in your coaching career?
Well, first of all, let me preface, Matthew, by saying I didn't win one of those games. My players did. Now, I may have lost some games, but I've always believed that players win, and I was blessed to have great players, and they catapulted me into the Hall of Fame, and so I really am thankful for each and every one of them. One of the great memories, I was able to, at 23 years old, start the baseball program at West Mesquite High School. And I was young and dumb and tried to act like I knew what I was doing. I had some great kids, and some of them had never played baseball before. And so we're building this program. And I found out in December, right before Christmas, that we were going to start baseball in February. And so our original practice field was Mesquite Memorial Stadium parking lot. That was that baseball practice field. But our kids came to work every day. They worked extremely hard. And 3 years later, we were the first West Mesquite athletic team to ever make the playoffs. And we were runner up to DeSoto, who won state that year.
Oh, wow.
In baseball. And Steve Foster, who's now pitching coach for the Colorado Rockies, a close friend. Steve was on that team. And so that was a great experience for us. And then having the opportunity to go to Highland Park and work under legendary athletic director Bo Snowden. His son Travis is assistant basketball coach over there now. Bo was a tremendous head basketball coach, but to learn from Bo and to really grow over there and build the program, help build the facility. And, I'm still really close, especially to our 91, 92 group. Several of those guys came to my induction at the Gaylord Texan last month. And it was a blessing. We were able to send some kids from Highland Park to Duke University and Columbia and some places, real special places like that. And then and then went to Plano East and still live over here down from the school, and was able to coach my oldest son, Jordan, in football and baseball. And that was a lot of fun. We were able to win some championships there and had a lot of great memories there. And then to go to Coppell, it was, I knew I was going to a place where tremendously rich baseball history. They were good well before I got there. Jason Stokes had just graduated 2 years prior to me getting there. Was first round draft pick with Tampa Bay. And, Jason's a great young man. But one of the funny stories, Matthew, is I think it was like 2005. No, it's 2003. We made the playoffs my first year, and there was a couple of series where we played 3-game series, which we all want to do, especially at 6A level. And we got run ruled so bad in game one. Of course, our MO, we would start our number one in game two. That way he would either finish the series or get us back.
Yep.
And so it was almost comical because I think 3 consecutive weeks we lost game one in a rout, got embarrassed. We could barely get off the field in 5 innings. And so I would always tell the kids, hey guys, we got them right where we want them. They're overconfident. Their coach will not going to be able to convince their kids that we can beat them. And we came back and won those series, and it was great. One of our pitchers was Daniel Raudeball, who's one of the record holders for Arena League football at quarterback. And he went 11-1 his senior year. And, but just had some great kids and great memories from my time there. And then my one short year at Plano West, I was able to coach Billy McKinney, who was a first-round draft pick the following year, which would have been my first year at TCA. And then, of course, to be able to come to Trinity, to be able to, again, not just come as a baseball coach, but come as assistant athletic director and begin my athletic administration career has just been a lot of fun.
And I want to ask too, what are some of the big differences going from public schools to private schools in terms of coaching? I mean, there's different atmosphere, of course, it's different, but what, from your take, what's that been like?
Well, I think a lot of people think that private schools in Texas, I can speak for Texas, that, well, it's not that much competition, and it's really a weak, TAPS is a weak league, and boy, it's almost a complete opposite. Very strong. I feel like our TAPS competition, many of us can compete at a very high 4A public school, some cases 5A public school level, and have done that. But it's been great. I think the biggest difference, Matthew, is that I can speak to Trinity Christian in that we have some similar issues that may come up, whether it be parent issues or player issues or student issues, but they're just reconciled so differently. And we try to follow the Matthew 5 and Matthew 18 principle from the Bible about reconciliation, about going to that person and trying to communicate and share our differences and trying to work out, man to man or woman to woman, and player to player, coach to player. And I always say that it's great because typically our differences can be reconciled. Sometimes, you agree to disagree, but most of the time, I think the difference in my experience at TCA has been, man, it's great to come to a mutual understanding, to finish praying together, and to really walk out of there feeling like we're on the same page, we're supporting each other, and we're trying to do what's best for the child.
Oh, that's great. Coach, I want to also ask you too, you spent some time as a board member and president of the Texas High School Baseball Coach Association, also in leadership with FCA, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. What have those roles meant to you and really, player development as well?
Well, I mean, I was a FCA sponsor for 30 years. And one year, I'll never forget it. I was a Tom Landry Award recipient, and to have Coach Landry present me an award was like, what's happening, And now to be able to be an athletic director, the one facility that we have named after someone at TCA is Tom Landry Stadium, is just surreal. So it was a great privilege to lead FCA for those years, and I would say that just kind of like coaching, you feel like you maybe get more out of it than maybe even the student athlete. And then serving as president 98, 99, I was kind of the last president of the 20th century. And to be able to help usher in the 21st century for Baseball Coaches Association was really special. In '94, I was able to help induct my high school coach, Dolph Rogalski, into our Hall of Fame. And unfortunately, he had passed, but I was able to share the award, present the award to his wife, Georgia, and then Coach Gus in 1999, when I was president. My college coach, Coach Gustafson at UT, to be able to call both of those guys, or Ms. Rogalski for Dolph, and then to call Coach Gus and say, "Hey, I know you're in plenty of Hall of Fames, but you're now in the Texas High School Baseball Coach Hall of Fame," because a lot of people don't know that Coach Gus was the head baseball coach at South San Antonio before he became the head coach at UT, and he won several state championships and had a tremendous career. And so to be able to do those things. And so when I got the call back in, gosh, I guess it was October, from Coach Adair, our current president, telling me that now I was going to be inducted, it was just like, wow, now I know what it's like to be on the other end of the line when somebody says that. And just so thankful, immediately thankful for all the players I've had, my assistant coaches, all the wonderful mentors I had, especially my athletic directors. Just an amazing experience.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, when you got inducted on January 14th earlier this year, what was that feeling like? I mean, did it, in the moment, was it just like, I'm giving a speech, or did it take time? Like, I mean, even too, after the call, when did it sink in and you're like, wow, like in the Hall of Fame?
Well, I probably wrote and rewrote my speech, I don't know, maybe 25 times. The core of it stayed pretty much the same, but you add things, you take things away, and I didn't want to go too long. I think it was right at about 12 minutes, but there's so much that you want to say. And so I wanted to, an old pastor told me years ago, he said, the shorter your speech, in his case, his sermon, then the more time it took to prepare for the sermon. So for a 10-minute speech, I didn't want to, I wanted to be completely prepared, kind of like preparing for a game. You want to prepare your kids. In this case, I wanted to prepare and make sure I thanked all these folks, not necessarily each by name, tell some funny stories, which would be interesting, I hope. And then, just share it with my players and my assistant coaches and with my current school. And so I was excited that my plaque that will be down in Brenham at the Bluebell, which is kind of interesting. Our Hall of Fame's at Bluebell.
Hey, what a great place to be at.
Yeah. It's neat that as far as I know, I'm the only private school guy photographed down there out of, I think, about 82 recipients. So I was just very thankful to all that TCA has done for me. But throughout my career, nobody's been as blessed as I've been with resources, great young men, great mentors.
Yeah, Coach, I tell you, it, again, as I said earlier, getting to witness firsthand just who you are and the impact that you've made on the coaches and players and parents and the school. I mean, it's been an honor. I remember when I first met you, it was probably back in 2013, maybe 2012, 2013. And it was our basketball coach at the time, Randy Feemster, that he said, you gotta meet Coach English. And so I met you, and then I got to work with you a couple of years and be around the teams. And it just a thank you, Coach, for who you are and the impact you make on so many people, because that's what people remember. I mean, I still go back and think about time in high school. It's part of the memories right there. And I think fondly of, our baseball seasons and the teams, and just, it was a lot of fun. And so I just want to thank you for the impact. And I also want to read you this quote, this from that article I was talking about from last August. It was from Vibe.com. And you were quoted in saying this, that you said, until a kid comes back to see you and he's a husband or father, or she's a wife and mother, you don't really know the impact you have on them. We like to believe we do know in the moment. We don't know until many years down the road. We do have a different definition of winning here at TCA, and it happens on and off the field. So, Coach, just to expand upon that a little bit more, when you think about the impact, 37 years of coaching and 42 years as an educator, and all the students and parents and everyone you've interacted with, I mean, when you look back on that, like how amazing, how cool is that?
Well, that's the best part, Matthew. I mean, like I said, several of my players came to the induction, and it was so great to see some I had not seen in 30 years. And I told the story about one of my players at Highland Park that I was coaching TCA. I think it was my last year. I'm coaching TCA. Excuse me. I was coaching TCA over at JP2. And one of my former players at Highland Park, who I'd not spoken to in 30 years, heard my voice. I guess coaches, we all have a different kind of voice, but he's like, that's Coach English. This is what he told me later. And he was with his daughter. They were going to go see a softball game, and he stopped and to say hello. And it just struck me that coaches have such a powerful voice. Now, sometimes we blow it, and sometimes it's not for good, but boy, in God's hands, it can be for so much good. But as a young coach, I remember an athlete or a student would say, "Hey, coach," and I would say, "Hey, student," and I would almost kind of kid with them because I was not much older than they were. And it was kind of like, I was kind of saying, well, you need to address me as Coach English. And that really, looking back on it, that was dumb on my part, because to be called coach is like to be called dad, father, brother, friend. It's special. And so I'll never forget how just to be called coach, and the privilege it is to be called coach is amazing. And so to be able to interact with all these parents and their kids, and then to meet now their children from time to time is super special. And you're a great example of a young man that just was like a sponge, just wanted to learn, wanted to grow, wanted to help others with what you're doing now. And that's who you are. And so I think what goes unsaid too many times is that, yes, coaches and teachers have impacts on kids, but the kids, I don't think, realize the reverse impact, the impact you have on us. And so it goes both ways. I think accountability goes both ways, sharpening, as the Bible says, iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another. That goes both ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been more blessed, I think, than I've been a blessing. But I appreciate all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Coach, I want to ask you, you mentioned earlier about mentors, and I know you've kind of briefly touched on this, but I just wanted to ask you, who are a couple of individuals, I mean, throughout your career, even when it got started, you're talking about Coach Gustafson, and then what about, later in your career too? Who are those individuals that have really helped, been that kind of rock for you throughout your career?
Well, of course, I had some SCA leaders. I had some young life leaders in high school and college. I had a mentor at UT named Stan Holmes, who was one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever come through Richland High School back when it was a one high school town many years ago. And Stan and I still stay in touch. He was a rock on the faith-based part. for coaching and playing. My high school coach, Coach Rogelski, was a legendary coach in Dallas, played in the big leagues for 5 years with the Phillies. Just a great teacher of the game, and held you accountable, and really taught you how to respect the game and how to respect your opponent and how to work hard in practice. Coach Gus was a drill guy. We're going to get it right. And so when I started coaching, I think I'll never forget some of my poor kids. I think our practices were probably 3.5 hours long, because man, I wanted to do it all in practice every day. And as I grew, I learned how to cut it down and work on particular things each day. But and then Matthew, probably I had some unbelievable athletic directors. Joe Barnett at Coppell, hired me at Coppell, and unfortunately wasn't there but a few years before he went to Irving. But that was Coppell's loss, by the way. But just a great man, would do anything for you behind the scenes, and support you. Both now and I mentioned at Highland Park, tremendous Christian, would do anything for you, helped me tremendously, taught me what it was like to be a head coach. And so, yeah, though, and then ultimately my dad, just a great man, the mentor of all time, along with my two brothers and my sister. So great mentors all around.
Thanks for sharing that, Coach. And I want to end with one final question for you. In the last couple of episodes, I've asked our guests, if you could describe your hometown in one word, but I want to switch it up with you because you've had a legendary coaching career, and I want to focus on that. If you could describe your coaching career in one word, what would it be and why?
I would say, if you could let me use a hyphen in there, life-changing.
You got it.
I would say life-changing, Matthew, because it's changed my life. I hope that I've been able to help empower young men to do the same, knowing that as great as athletics is, that it's just one step, and that there's much bigger things ahead. But that hopefully athletics helped catapult them on to greatness. And hopefully they know that I love them, and I would do anything for them. But but I'd say life-changing, because I can't imagine ever doing anything else. And it's been an honor.
Well said. Well, Coach, this was an honor. This was an honor getting to chat with you tonight. Just again, thank you for who you are. Thank you for the impact you've made on the community and are still making on the community. I know TCA-Addison is so thrilled to have you there, and the impact you're making. And so again, I just thank you, Coach. I really appreciate this.
Thank you, Matthew, to have me on in your 50 states. I'm assuming to represent Texas. That's a lot of pressure, Matthew.
It is
a lot of pressure.
The big state to represent, Coach.
to be your nominee to represent Texas. It's one of the greatest honors of my life, and I can't thank you enough. And just to be your friend is all I need. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Coach. And thanks everybody for tuning in to episode 4 of 50 States, 50 Stories. Have a great one, and go out and make a difference, and take care.